Hi everyone, I'm Caitlin and welcome to part one of this video series on enhancing lymph flow. I wanted to give this presentation because most people don't know very much about their lymph systems. Even medical doctors are pretty uninformed. There's only an average of 2 hours of training on the lymph system in medical school. So I want to go over the functions of the lymph system, the structure, as well as how to know if you may have an imbalance in this system. So, what is the lymph? It is a fluid that is formed when the plasma is squeezed out of our our cardiovascular capillaries. And that plasma goes into interstitial fluid. And when this fluid is taken up by the lymphatic vessels, we call it lymph. It is composed of white blood cells, proteins, lipids, vitamins and minerals, hormones, cellular waste, bacteria, viruses, toxins, and much more. The structure of the lymph system, it includes that lymph fluid, of course, as well as the lymphatic vessels where the lymph moves through, the organs and glands that contain lymphoid tissues. So these would include the lymph nodes, bone marrow, the spleen, the thymus, the tonsils, the adenoid glands, all of these things we recognize the names of, but we have no idea what they do. Those are all part of the lymph system. The skin is also thought to be is a lymphoid organ. So we'll talk about the skin a little bit later on. Lymphatic capillaries and vessels run parallel to the cardiovascular system, but they only move fluid in one direction, and this is basically always towards the heart. So the lymph is transported back into the bloodstream in the subclavian veins, and that's where it will be recirculated back into the body. So the lymph plays a key role in detox. That's maybe what it's best known for, but it's certainly not its only function. It also has functions related to the immune system, formation and functioning of the immune system. Digestion is a big one. Sodium and blood pressure regulation is also very important, a little lesser known. And it also has a role in emotional processing, which will be the topic of the next video. So let's go through these kind of one by one. The detoxification system, the waste removal system. This is for bacteria, viruses, antigens, even cancerous cells, debris from cellular metabolism, as well as debris from emotional experiences. So the lymph detoxifies everything that is either too large or too fat soluble to be carried by the blood, since the blood only carries water-soluble particles. So the lymph detoxifies many of these toxic fats, pesticides, pollutants, and exogenous hormones. When digestion is suboptimal, many fats and hard-to-digest proteins, such as gluten, those can escape the intestines and they will end up in the lymphatic vessels. So when this happens, the lymph surrounding the intestines can become easily congested. You can feel bloated, have low energy, weight gain over time, and this kind of weight gain is often in the abdomen since the fats are deposited around the visceral organs. So very connected to digestion. The lymph system is also very intertwined with the immune system. So the majority of our immune system actually resides in and is transported by the lymph. So the lymph system is essential for the majority of our immune response. It facilitates the formation of immune cells. It transports immunoglobulins, macrophages, everything the immune system needs to kind of mount a response. The lymph contains our adaptive, also called acquired immune system, and that's those T cells and B cells that are specialized to recognize foreign compounds, that when they enter the body, they will mark them as potential threats if that's necessary. But we kind of all know how this system can go haywire, because we're familiar with autoimmunity. That's the best example. Autoimmunity occurs when the adaptive immune system starts marking our own cells as harmful foreigners. And then the immune system attacks those tissues. This can be the thyroid gland, the skin, the intestinal tract. This kind of hypersensitivity of the adaptive immune system will create allergies, can create allergies, can create serious food intolerances. When these typically harmless compounds will enter the body, things like pollen, things like gluten, the immune system will mark them as threats, and it will ramp up this inflammatory response. So if the lymph becomes congested or overburdened, the immune system can't function properly. So it's really important for anyone with autoimmunity or who wants to prevent autoimmunity to have this healthy immune system, healthy lymph system. The autoimmunity is also linked to hormones and toxin exposure, and those are two areas that are influenced by proper lymph flow. So autoimmunity is a very complex process. We can't say that lymph therapy can act as a standalone cure, but the lymph system is being recognized more and more as one of the foundational pieces of the autoimmune puzzle. So let's talk about digestion a little bit. We have about 400 to 700 lymph nodes in the body, and half of these roughly are located in the abdominal area. So this is the most lymphatic vessel-rich part of the body. For example, just above the belly button, we have the cisterna chyli, and this is a major convergence point for all of the lymph vessels of the lower body, plus all of the digestive lymph vessels. So you can see how it can get congested easily. Usually the cisterna chyli is responsible for filtering many of the proteins and fats that we consume. So another function, the lymph system is responsible for delivering nutrients and energy consumed to every cell of the body. So after we eat, we need the lymph to be functioning properly to get the energy from our food, and consequently we see energy levels decrease with dysfunctional lymph systems. So the lymph is what allows us to absorb and transport dietary fats and fat-soluble vitamins, since, like we said before, they can't move around in the bloodstream. When this happens, we're lowering the fat content of our blood and lessening the load on the liver. But when the lymph is not performing optimally, the blood pressure increases in the portal vein, and this creates a large amount of stress on the liver. Additionally, surrounding the gastrointestinal tract, we have our largest group of lymphatic vessels, which is called the gut-associated lymphoid tissue, and this is abbreviated GALT. This tissue helps to maintain the integrity of the intestinal lining. It helps to assist nutrient absorption, it filters out pathogens, and it also keeps the microbiome in balance. The intestinal lining can get easily irritated by things like processed foods, food additives, when we eat foods that we have allergies or intolerances to. When it becomes irritated, the GALT will become congested. So since the lymph system is so interconnected, this congestion will basically congest the whole lymph system over time. It will have a harder time clearing the inflammation as well as the harmful compounds that cause the inflammation in the first place. So unfortunately, this becomes a vicious cycle. So while normally the lymph is enhancing GI absorption, it's enhancing immunity in this area, a congested lymph system can do the opposite. It can exacerbate any type of GI issue by increasing edema, which is swelling, by increasing inflammation, while decreasing absorption and immune signaling. And lastly, sodium and blood pressure regulation are important roles of the lymph, since it's very interconnected with the cardiovascular system as well. So any cardiovascular conditions, such as hypertension or high blood pressure, we want to look at the functioning of the lymph system in these cases. So blood pressure is actually regulated by the lymph system. We store sodium in our skin, and research is showing how the immune cells and lymph capillaries of the skin actually regulate the sodium levels and blood pressure. So impaired regulation in this system may cause hypertension, salt-sensitive hypertension, and it also works the other way around, where high blood pressure causes an increase in the production of lymph. And when there's too much, when the lymph system can't manage this increase in fluid, it builds up in the surrounding tissues, and this is the cause of edema. And additionally, when the lymph system is not functioning properly, toxins accumulate in the bloodstream. The blood then thickens. It creates obstructions that contribute to the high blood pressure. Basically, this is an epidemic. 1 in 3 Americans have high blood pressure, and I just really hope we start considering the role of lymphatic health in hypertension. So after learning about all these functions, you may be curious, what are the symptoms? How could you know if you did have an imbalance in lymph function? Generally, you would feel kind of an overall sluggishness, and this could be mental, it could be physical. This can result in a number of symptoms. It could be chronic fatigue, brain fog, low energy, low mood. It could be digestive issues, food sensitivities, bloating, constipation, weight gain, especially that weight gain in the belly like we talked about. A dysfunctional lymph system will affect the immune system, so there may be frequent illness, sore throats, sinus infections, allergies, things like that. You may feel some soreness, stiffness, or pain in muscles and joints. You may have cold hands and feet. During your menstrual cycle, if you're a woman, you may feel your breasts swell at that time of month. Your skin may exhibit changes, so any number of skin conditions, most commonly maybe dry skin. Cellulite, that's a big one. Most people don't think of that as a lymph congestive disorder, but it is. It indicates that there are toxins trapped in the skin in that area. So these are just a few examples. It can manifest in many ways since the lymph system is connected to every part of our body. So we're going to go into some of the emotional symptoms, I guess, or how the lymph is connected to emotional processing, as well as Ayurvedic perspectives on the lymph system. So I hope you join me in the next video. Thank you for watching.